left Christianity and fundamentalist churches like Calvinism and Baptists, I realized that Christian teachings about morality and virginity negatively affect women the most. For those who have never grown up in purity culture or gender-focused virginity and abstinence-only purity culture, you may or may not understand how Christians and all major organized world religions view female sexuality. I firmly believe that every major world religion controls, regulates, and squelches female sexuality, sometimes with the threat of violence, murder, and mutilation. It doesn't happen as much in the Western world because we're a little bit more civilized, in theory. Even though we do still, in 2/3 of the states in America, still have child marriages. And child marriage is very popular when a child has been harmed by an adult who has committed an awful felony. And if the victim is 14 or older, they can force their daughter to marry a man who's harmed her in order to escape legal ramifications. This is gross. And it astounds me how we live as the leader of the free world. We still allow girls under 18 to marry. I hope someday, before I die in 50 years, that all 50 states eradicate child marriage. That conversion therapy for gay people is considered unconstitutional for anyone under the age of 18, or if you're in places like Mississippi or some states, you're not legal till you're 19 or 20. No one under the age of majority can get conversion therapy or virginity tests. I hope all of those are one day declared illegal, unethical, predatory, and disturbing. There are famous, very famous rappers and musicians in America that force their daughters to undergo virginity tests under the age of 17. Any father who cares that much about their daughter's virginity is predatory. The only way to protect your daughter is the same way you protect your son. Educating kids about safe sex, contraceptives, birth control, consent, informed information, positive conversations, sex positive discussions. Parents should not be protecting their daughters and enlightening their sons. They should be doing the same thing for both, or whatever gender. And I hate the idea of genders, orientations, or rules. We need to get beyond the patriarchal overreach that fathers believe it is their God-given right to protect, defend, and wield their daughter's sexuality. It's creepy. Anyone who cares about their daughter's virginity, besides teaching consent, safety, birth control, STI training, anything that does not protect the daughter the same way it protects the son, I don't think they should have custody of their kids. It's creepy. The idea that fathers guard their daughter's honor and that women guard the honor of their male family is disgusting. It's actually the main reason why there's honor killings in Muslim and very high control religious extremist countries and territories, because they believe women only bring 3 things to the table: virginity, free labor, and protecting the honor of everybody in the community. That's not her job. Her job isn't to protect her own virginity. It's to learn how to use your sexuality in a positive way to create autonomy and agency. If a woman or a man does not want to have sex for any reason, they don't even have to say why. Just any reason. Whether they don't want to, they're not interested in it. Any reason. Any reason is legitimate. And he or she doesn't have to give a reason. They can live the life they want to. They can pursue or live a life according to how they view their reality. But this isn't something that's even hinted at or valued in churches. It's all about women's purity and men's prowess. It's disgusting. Body count was created by dusty old men to sell their daughter for more cash or more property. Virginity doesn't exist. Body count does not exist. As long as you treat people with as much respect as you expect, that's what embracing who you are really is. And people who think they're better than other people because they have over 100 people on their made-up body count, that's not the kind of person I want to be around. And there's nothing wrong with sleeping with 100 people. There's nothing wrong with sleeping with 20 people, no people, or never desiring to. There's no rule that says you have to do anything. There are toxic social and religious expectations. We as women, whether we were born as a woman, like cis, become, change, discover, whatever, we who call ourselves women, either traditional or a more well-rounded, accepted version of womanhood, we all need to embrace the idea. However we live, as long as we're informed, enthusiastic, consenting, abstinent, enjoying, and proud. Who cares how you live your life? You're not a more superior man or woman because you're not a virgin or you have experience. And until we live in a society that views virgins with as much respect and compassion as we do people or men that have 100 body count, we harm women the way men and women talk about female sexuality. If you look in the Webster's dictionary, what does sex mean? What's the definition? What's the mechanics? It's always about a man. It's, unless you have a modern dictionary, sex starts with a man and finishes with a man. It doesn't focus on women. It doesn't focus on her needs, her wants, and sex is more than just PV penetration. It's about an experience. It's not about the ending. It's not how well you perform. It's how well you listen, how well you respect each other. And when consent is rarely or completely erased from sex education classes in Christianity, the more fundamentalist, conservative, and traditional you are, the less there's an emphasis on bodily autonomy, agency, and just general understanding of how the body works. There is a whole subgenre of horror on the female reproductive or female sexuality. Men are terrified of female sexuality. They're terrified of female sexual reproductive organs. They're afraid of women who may or may not have traditional female sex organs. We, as a society, even women, we are terrified of the idea that there is a sexually independent woman out there that will try to steal what we believe is ours. We don't own people. We don't control other people. And the way men talk about women, their sexuality, even the idea that men can cheat and women can't, and that women are terrible because they cheat, but men get a free pass, is very dehumanizing. Our society, especially in America, view women like a vending machine. Dates are like transactions. Women are seen as something to conquer and then get rid of. We don't view women with agency. We view them as being hot, attractive, and will they give me something? Sex is about giving. And some of it is about getting. Too much giving, too much getting isn't good for relationships. Everyone needs to feel like they're the center of the show at some point. Everybody in it is involved. To teach women that they never get to experiment, or if they experiment too much or too little, they're a social pariah, that men can do whatever they want, including rape, and they will blame the woman, is abhorrent. Women in church are viewed like property. The Bible lists women in the same breath as property and cattle. Any book, any religion that views women in the same sentence as cattle is not a moral book. The Ten Commandments are all about property rights. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Well, in the ancient Hebrew, it was talking about men touching other men's property. It was never about women. Assaulting a woman was never a crime against a woman. It was against the man who owned her. Don't give false witness was always about protecting male honor. You slander a woman? Who cares? I do. I care. Women are seen as half or a third of importance compared to a man. That's why I'm no longer a Christian. I don't want anything to do with a religion that views women like transactions. If women can't make their own choices, live their own lives, refuse to be treated like they're a commodity, men could not cope. If women decided, you know what, I'm tired of being taken advantage of, literally, figuratively, and sometimes legally, men would not cope. If women just stopped caring, stopped living by the patriarchy, men's legacies would cease to exist. If women would not give them the time of day, men would be nothing. If women started protecting each other, caring about each other, and be a united force against the patriarchy, men would not be in charge. When half the women are at war with the other half of the women, the men don't have to do much. The greatest trick patriarchy ever played was setting women against women. You're either too conservative or too liberal. There's no such thing. You either have respect for yourself and claim and advocate for your own agency and autonomy, or you don't. There is no middle ground. You can't be a little free or half free. You're either completely autonomous or you have no autonomy. And the Baptist and Calvinistic churches I grew up in did not see women as human beings. If you can't be in charge, you can't call the shots, you're considered submissive, and that all the traits that are considered godly and natural are ones that benefit men, and benefit a social order that always blames you for everything. And if you're lucky to escape being abused and harmed, you're still exploited. The patriarchy always exploits women. It teaches women from the time they wear diapers to the time they retire that they are a commodity. They teach women that you're not good enough unless you do this. You're not pretty enough unless you wear this. You're not good enough if you don't check these boxes. If you're not married, if you don't have kids. My therapist always told me, don't play the game if your opponent is known to change the rules, to move the boundaries, the markers. That's why I don't get into fashion. I don't like institutions that constantly change. They move the rules so you never can win. That's what the patriarchy does. It's an unbeatable game, so don't play it. The patriarchy only wins when enough women antagonize the other half of women. And like I said earlier, if all women realized that men are playing them, men would not be in charge. They would be lucky to be alive, because if women ever figured out that men do not like them, period, and the world's not made for women, purposefully not made for women, men have to control women, their sexuality, their ability to financially support themselves, because men know if women could live the life that men take for granted, they would 100% of the time choose to be the center of their own universe. Women think it's natural to submit because very few women know what it's like to be the star of their own life. And when you grow up in an environment like I did, where your whole existence is about serving men, that you're so simple-minded and stupid that a man needs to tell you how to live. Beware of any institution or religion that is run by men, where women can't make the rules, where women can never win, because the game isn't rigged. It's pre-selected. If a carnival game is rigged, you still have a chance to win. The odds are 1 in 50 million, but you still have a chance. If no one ever won the Powerball, people would stop playing. Feminism, being a woman, it's not rigged. You have no chance to win. And even if you become Marilyn Monroe, you still will fail. Because the pressure of being perfect but not too perfect, being independent but not too independent that you threaten other women or men, can actually kill you. It killed Marilyn Monroe. It killed most of the female actresses and famous women that could not cope with the patriarchal game that constantly moves. It's a moving target. Except there's no target. Because if there was a target, you would have a chance to win. And don't play the game. If you play the game, that's how you screw yourself. And in our society, if you can control a woman's reproduction, how she views her body and how she feels within her body, how she enjoys and feels comfortable having sex, and how society views a woman who acts just like a man but doesn't get the respect a man does. This is the environment women grow up in. The patriarchy is like constantly living in a ditty party. You're not safe. You can't win. You can't escape. And no woman around you will help you. Because they think you're a threat. Women don't help each other because they literally see each other as a threat. And that's why politicians create a third-party scapegoat, so that the people who really have the power give away their power to the elite, thinking the elite will protect them from a non-existent, very morally low crime community, thinking that this group is trying to devour them. Women give away their power to men, but they don't ever realize until it's too late or they're too old, according to society, then it's too late. Even though it's not too late. A woman really doesn't start living the best part of her life until she's no longer young, able to have kids, or is considered young. Once women no longer are the center point of men's consumption, I've heard that from a lot of women's mouths, that is the best time of their life. They no longer are exploited by men. They're no longer having to keep impossible standards for their gender. They can actually begin to age with grace. Our society, our religions make it impossible for women to have good opinions of themselves. From what I've heard based on therapy and hundreds of thousands of people on YouTube talking about relationships they've been in and marriages they've barely survived, I firmly believe that most heterosexual men hate the women that are in their life. The only reason they stay put is if you're in a relationship, men get respect from their peers, usually male. They get free labor. They get free kids. Most heterosexual men do not like their wives. They're probably hooking up with men too. Because the Republican Party definitely tells us this a lot. Their attacks, their Grindr crashes. The more conservative, sexually repressed you are, the more you will control women. Because if all women ever realized, we don't need men, but they need us, we would be an unstoppable force. And men would never again be the consistent leadership group. But women don't know their power. And half the states in America believe that a white male who is deemed according to a court to be a rapist as a better presidential candidate than a woman who has served as vice president, who is qualified, and who wouldn't be sicking ice on people. But they'd rather have a white person. I am genuinely shocked that America has ever elected a non-white person. Obama is the exception. A wonderful exception that he was. But until we can consistently elect and follow a leader that doesn't look like a white, cis, geriatric pig, we will never progress beyond the 1950s. And there's no time in history to return to that was great. The only time in history that America was great was for cis, heterosexual, white males. America has never been great for black people, Latino people, and women who weren't white. There is no time to return to because they haven't reached equality. If 49% of the population who isn't white hasn't reached equality, there's no great time to bring back. You have to be racist and ignorant of history and just the way America has existed and believe that America can be great again. America was never great for anyone who wasn't white and male. And it's arrogant to believe that there ever was a time. There has never been a time where women's sexuality was as powerful and influential and praised as the heterosexual white male's sexuality. Women don't need purity balls. They don't need purity rings. They don't need wait till marriage. Live the life you want. Marry whom you want. Be polyamorous. Have no relationship, no traditional relationship. Be asexual. Be whatever you want or whatever you were born and discovered you are. And if it looks as different from a heterosexual relationship as possible, bravo. Very few decades, very few generations before 2025 ever had the choice to exist beyond the nuclear family. When my parents were in the cradle in the 50s, it was illegal to be gay. It was illegal in many cities to be lesbian. It was illegal for a woman to wear pants because they believed cross-dressing was a misdemeanor. Think about that. Being trans was illegal. Cross-dressing was considered sodomy. And as long as you do things between informed, enthusiastically consenting adults, where you're not hurting their partner or hurting anyone, live the life you want. And if it's as far from Christian bigotry as possible, according to the nuclear heterosexual family, fine. There's nothing wrong with being heterosexual. There's nothing wrong with having 2 kids, a husband. Nothing whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with being gay or trans and having a family that resembles a heterosexual family. The only problem is when you believe that only a man and a woman, cis and heterosexual, have any right or have superiority to be the only legitimate people doing it. That's the difference between homophobia, transphobia, and sexism. Or being a decent human being. Being heterosexual is the majority. That doesn't make it the default, doesn't make it better, doesn't make it worse. It just makes it different. But in this society, Christians don't like different. Conservative people don't like different. They view you as a threat. And I have a very good idea what Christians do to people they view as a threat. They treat you like you're trans. They call you a domestic terrorist. They call you a whore. They call you promiscuous, a fag, even though I hate that word. And there are many ways to live your life. Don't let anybody make you feel shame for being who you are. As long as you choose consenting legal adults to be attracted to. Live whatever life you want. Rock it, enjoy it, live it. Just, if you're heterosexual, fine. Just don't say it's the only legitimate way to live. It's the only right way to live. It's the only natural way to live. And if you call anybody unnatural, perverted, or predators because they just live consensually, quietly, and legally, living the life they want, you're part of the problem. And it's not a good problem. It's an awful problem. And over 2,000 people a year, trans, gay people, lose their lives every year because some bigoted white person can't deal with the fact that not all women are attracted to men, and not all men are attracted to women. Some of it's ignorance, some of it's bigotry. Some people are just hateful. You can't do much about it. Every generation has more non-straight people, more acceptance. In the next 50 years, I hope we create a society that says if you're a bigot, a homophobe, a sexist person, we're not going to elect you as president. We're not going to elect you to any PTA authority group. We're not going to publish or buy your books. That's the society we want. And if somebody is going to be transphobic, they get canceled. We need to do better. We need to accept people for who they are. Keep it legal, keep it consensual, keep it happy, keep it tolerant, keep it however you want to keep it. Just make sure everyone's as comfortable as you are. And if the partner you choose doesn't knock you over, doesn't make you feel like they want it more than you do, don't do it. No means no. Yes doesn't always mean yes. Especially if they grew up in a patriarchal society where they don't know how to say no. They might not have a clue that they can even think no. Women don't have their own agency, their own autonomy in church. Because Christianity doesn't allow it. Women's sexualities are always tied to marriage and men. And if you dare to live outside the heterosexual experience, which, ironically, heterosexual women who are married have the least sexual satisfaction or sexually satisfying lives. Because the less traditional someone is, the less traditional someone's relationship or life is, the higher life and sexual satisfaction they have. Because they don't have to live in a narrow-viewed life. They don't have to crunch their shape into what society wants. They don't have to change from being a triangle to being a circle. Just live your life the way you want to. And if people get pissed off or call you names, I just flip them off. That's what I do. If someone's not going to show me the decency and some basic respect, then I'm not going to listen to what they have to say. If people can't treat you with respect, they have nothing worth listening to. And every 10 years, we're seeing a dip of religious fervency. I hope someday the majority of people in America don't care what God, Jesus, religion, or some lying pastor has to say about anything. It's so ludicrous to live your whole life by what some misogynistic man wrote or taught before they understood how the body worked. And if it didn't hurt people, I'd laugh. How ludicrous it is to live your life believing what one person taught before most things in our society even existed. Women deserve better. Women deserve fathers who educate them, who let them make their own choices and own their own sexuality. Women don't need to be protected. They need to protect themselves against what we call toxic masculinity and fundamentalist Christianity. I don't trust man-centered, male-founded, or any religion that has a male deity. Because if a woman's not the center, it's probably going to turn out to be pretty patriarchal. And I'm just not into all that. If I wanted to be dominated by a man, I'd go to Craigslist. Life's too short to believe what some ignorant person said 2,000 years ago.